I was really expecting Sean to sit here today and say that the Brock Purdy contract is going to sink the 49ers. Like, I was fully ready to be all out on it. I've been saying it the entire offseason leading into this. But after I spent a lot of time reading into it, I realized I'm actually wrong. I'm completely wrong on this. So where he compares to the rest of the quarterbacks in the NFL, he's going to be making $53 million per year. That was what was reported. That puts him tied seventh with Jared Goff. Dak is making 60. Josh Allen's making 55. Joe Burrow's making 55. Trevor Lawrence is making 55. Jordan Love's making 55. Tua is making 53.1. Jared Goff is making 53. Herbert 52.5. Lamar 52. Jalen Hurts 51. He is the seventh highest paid quarterback at the position in average value per season. He's eighth in total guarantees at 181. He's fifth in total value. But what I missed, and what was not initially reported, because the initial reports always comes from the agent trying to pump up his client. Mm-hmm. He's actually, after 2025, the deal completely shifts to a 6-year deal where he's making $45 million a year. That is after guys like CJ Stroud, Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, all these other guys, once they get paid, he's going to be middle of the pack to the back end by the time the end of his contract comes around. So as I was sitting here ready, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how I still have some uneasiness about this.
Sure.
I was ready to say that it's too much money to commit to a quarterback because you're screwing your team. But as the salary cap increases, they're actually paying him a respectable conservative amount that gives them plenty of room to operate. I was shocked as I read into this more and more.
This is shocking from you.
And I was ready to shit on it. I was.
Well, before I shit on it, I will give kudos to an NFL team that makes a decision and makes a decision fast. So they're not sitting here with the he said, she said, Kirk Cousins in Washington situation, franchise tag or not. I will, as a core principle, have a baseline level of respect. How little it is does not really concern you, but I will have that baseline level of respect for a team that says, we want this guy, we sign him now, it will pay off in the future. That is a fine approach and a smart one. But it's Brock Purdy, $50+ million as a quarterback in the NFL. Now,
wait, I think you're hung up. I know I'm already cutting you off. I think you're hung up on him making $50+ million. That's
exactly what I'm hung up on.
But that's also not the number, though. He's making 45 after in 2026. It becomes a 6-year contract where he's making 45 per year. It becomes, I think, 279 as the total value of it.
I don't like seeing at the top paid quarterback positions here. I don't like seeing Trevor Lawrence in there. I don't like seeing Tua Tagovailoa in there.
Yeah.
I don't like seeing Brock Purdy in there.
But he's not. He's actually lower. He's going to be lower than all of these guys.
It's Brock Purdy. And I know that he's going to if he was going to, I'd rather have him for even lower for less years to have. So in case we find another Brock Purdy, that's better than Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy isn't going to take a big leap this year. We should all kind of know by now,
right?
Brock
He's
Purdy
been at his ceiling.
Been at his ceiling. And his accompanying cast is already capped out. They are not going. Ricky Pearsall is not going to be a 15-touchdown receiver this year for the 49ers.
Oh, you better not say that.
George Pickens is not going to be George Kittle. Oh, George Pickens, Jesus Christ. George Kittle is not going to be 2018 George Kittle. Madman, no one can stop him. Ayuk's coming off of an ACL tear. That's tough. This team is getting older and slower, and Purdy at his best was when they were younger and faster.
I agree with that's where I have some uneasiness with this. I'm respecting the roster building approach because this is relatively creative and conservative for how they were able to manipulate and maneuver how much money he's going to be making. I think that we are going to feel differently about this if theoretically in the next 3 years they end up returning to becoming a consistent playoff team. But the biggest piece with this is they have to draft better. They now have more picks because they're beyond the trade up that they had for Trey Lance. So they're starting to get back in the rhythm, but they have to draft better. They can't draft freaking Jake Moody, who sucks, who's a kicker out of Michigan that was a total waste of a pick, which I called, by the way. They can't be having misses like this. They need to start hitting on Mykel Williams and CJ West, who they got in this year's class. And Jordan James needs to be an impactful running back that they selected. They need to start hitting home runs like they were doing in the past in order for Brock Purdy to play well. And the reason why that's the case, because of what you just illustrated. He is not a guy, we can all agree, he is not an elevator. He is a guy who can be more Jared Goff-ish.
Yeah, run the system.
Right. I think that the big key here is, and Tua is the example of where your team starts to sink because Tua is not good enough to elevate, and you're paying an exorbitant amount of money to Tyreek, who's aging, and he is one of the highest paid receivers, and you can't really put money elsewhere in free agency. Their roster is cooked. Their salary cap situation is cooked. I think that there's room to maneuver this. But to help put this into perspective, in 2023, this is what the key contracts that they had when they went to the Super Bowl. Trent Williams was making 12.6. Eric Armstead was making 11.9. Nick Bosa was making 11. George Kittle was making 9.5. Fred Warner was making 9. Debo was making 8.6. Javon Hargrave was making 6.6. Brandon Ayuk was only making 3.9. And Christian McCaffrey was making 3.4. 2026, and they're projected to have $55.6 million available in cap space. This does not include the Purdy contract because most websites have not updated to this. They have to deal with $42 million for Nick Bosa. Trent Williams at 38 years old is going to be making $38 million. Fred Warner is going to be making 26. Kittle's going to be making 16. Ayuk is going to be making 15. And McCaffrey is going to be making 3.7 if they don't opt out of his contract. So I'm saying all of this. I know it's kind of like a spew dump there. There is a lot that they have to hit on their like mid to late round draft picks over the next 2 years. Otherwise, this absolutely will blow up in their face.
And they can find dudes. They can find a Fred Warner that comes in and becomes an all-pro linebacker. Like
they've done it.
Their eye for talent with veterans and defensive pieces has been very good. Their move to pick up Christian McCaffrey, that was a impact massive move. That was an NFL changing move. It pushed them to a Super Bowl. Fantastic. Team's different. We got to update it. And Kyle Shanahan is going to believe in Kyle Shanahan. Excuse you. He's going to believe in Kyle Shanahan.
I don't have a cough button. God, we want me to cough right into the microphone? Cough in your mouth. Let me have the cough in your mouth.
You know what?
Jeez.
Get me nice and sick. Call out tomorrow.
I'm not sick. Whatever. Continue what you're saying.
Okay. Who am I talking about? Jesus Christ.
Shanahan
loves him some Shanahan, and he loves him some Shanahan system. He found a guy that can really, really work well at it, and that is Purdy. But that system needs young, cheap talent that is fast out of the backfield. They need young, cheap talent that can block on the outside to set up a nice little dig route for their explosive tight end to go up the seam, whatever, after the catch on the dig. But you can't keep on sinking a bunch of money into old players in this system. I've seen how it deteriorates. It deteriorated in Atlanta when it was peaking in Atlanta. Everyone was young. You had Freeman, you had Tevin Coleman, you had a bunch of pieces that were able to get worked in and new faces. And I think he does a really good job of keeping his great pieces hidden from everybody. Like he could scheme up a slot receiver super well for his traits, but once they're known, they're going to be known and they have to be keyed in on. This 49ers team is not that deep. That's concerning. They need to get deeper, and they need to be an explosive team that battles, because right now, NFC West, it's the Rams division, in my opinion. I think they have the most momentum over the 49ers. Retaining Purdy doesn't make me think, oh, well, Purdy's not leaving, so that means that they were going to hold on to that top spot. They're in a firm second right now.
I think that what this tells me, though, is that it's a commitment and a buy-in to their ability to draft and to develop guys, because they've had success. They've had more misses recently than they've had in the past because they've had less draft picks to work with, so that's kind of hamstrung them. This year they had a lot of draft picks. They need, though, CJ West and Alfred Collins to be two of the better defensive linemen on this team. One of them, if not both of them, need to be starters for your team. Nick Martin, who was an unexpected linebacker pick that they had, that everyone was like, really, is that who they were going to take? Needs to be one of their best starting linebackers. You need to get stuff out of guys like Jordan Watkins, who they drafted, and they also, Junior Bergen, like if you could turn him into a great kick returner, like gadget receiver, that is
Yeah.
another player that they need to find value from. And he was a pick that I liked because he feels like a 49er that like everyone's like, who's this Junior Bergen guy who just had a kick return for a touchdown and a 50-yard reception?
Just lighting it up.
Right.
Yeah.
They need to kind of keep hammering this home. With a contract like this, him making $45 million a year once that new contract sets in 2026, they have to allow for these young guys to build around him and start to flourish. Because if there is any bit of a feeling out period, this will fall apart, and it will fall apart quickly. My biggest thought is, how much runway does Shanahan have? How much runway does John Lynch have? How much room are they giving them to continue to build this? Or is this something that is deemed, hey, if things don't look good after we just paid Purdy, and they miss the playoffs this year is the better question.
Yeah.
How quickly do they get rid of him? I feel like they give him a 2-year window because they've gotten to 2 Super Bowls.
I was going to say 24 games. Like this year, I think the seats are going to stay cool regardless. It is the first year of the contract. Fine. Second year, those first 8 games, if something hasn't really improved, and I know we're now typecasting for the early 2027 season, but if there's not significant improvement from the last 8 weeks of this upcoming year and the first 8 weeks of the year following, they're going to be in some trouble because they'll be in the same exact position they are right now. Last place you want to be if you're a team missing the playoffs is the exact same spot. You either get better or you get worse. Staying the same does nothing for you. So with the age, with all of that, they have to show some signs of life at the end of this year. I don't even need them to make the playoffs. I think they might.
I think that
but
they
I don't
can.
need them
I mean,
to.
just know it. They were in the blender last year with injuries.
Yeah.
Like they could not have been in that. And that was why I think I was a big critic of Purdy, and I still am. I'm like, I need to see him play a lot better. When you don't have a lot of your top weapons available and you see the offense take a step backward and you see less explosiveness and you see the true self that Purdy was, that was the sobering reality that we were now stepping into. That was the like, oh shit, I think a lot more people started to realize like there is a clear cap to this. And if we don't have that cast and everything like really hits the fan and a lot of those guys are hurt, this team has a very low floor. And that has always been my criticism. That has always been my point, is they were as bad as they were this year because the floor is a lot lower than it is when you have a premier athlete, like if they were able to develop Trey Lance into what everyone hoped that he could have been.
Yeah, and they got lucky. I mean, realistically, this regime should have been out a couple years ago.
I know. If they didn't have
they would have
Purdy,
been gone.
That's honestly why I think they gave him the contract. It's almost like a due
Saved
diligence.
their ass.
Yeah, it's like you kind of saved us.
Thanks, pal. We'll make it right for you. Thanks.
Here's another Toyota commercial.
You know what? Maybe if you're in a Toyota commercial, you're worth $45 million a year as a quarterback. But
whatever that means.
That felt ham-fisted. We're going to throw Brock Purdy in, Mr. Irrelevant. I'd rather see him doing regular local ads, Mr. Irrelevant shtick, for a car dealership.
Brock Purdy, come on over to get your new Chevy Equinox at Johnson's Chevy.
That's a nice irrelevant car, a nice Chevy Equinox. Go ahead, be that guy.
All the rates that you're going to get are pretty average. They do the job. I'm Brock Purdy.
You know what? The Brock Purdy irrelevant car dealership.
I think he talks in those ads. I don't mean to cut you off. Now that I think about it,
you do mean to cut me off. You jump in it. I think he does talk in some of the ads.
Does he?
Yeah, didn't he have like it wasn't Gatorade. He had some other type of ad.
It's not a guy who I want talking.
I want him selling Pontiacs and Subarus and Chevys and all these cars that are very unassuming. And they just kind of get the job done if you know how to drive. That's what I want him doing post NFL. That would be that'd get me there. If I want a boring car, starter car, yeah, I'll go to Purdy's Mr. Irrelevant dealership.
I need him doing a local law firm ad in San Francisco. I went to Smith & Smith's when I got into my legal trouble.
When I countersued Kyle Shanahan, I went to Smith & Smith.
Oh God, yeah, it's funny seeing him in a Toyota. He's like I don't know. He just doesn't exude Like a really just like,
Well,
hey, this guy makes me want to buy a Toyota truck.
Here's the tough thing about Purdy. He's a handsome quarterback in the league. I'd say pretty average on the quarterback.
I'd be picking an offensive lineman to be selling trucks.
But he's got rosy cheeks and he's got a button nose that's also red. And I'm like, he doesn't really look like an NFL quarterback to be selling you stuff.
Right.
He should just be the man. That's what he should be. All right, this is Brock. I'm Brock Purdy. I'm the man. I saved you guys for a couple of years. That should be his bit. Not button down jeans and Wrangler commercials.
Well, he's a farmer. He's from Iowa. No, he's not. He's from Arizona. Wait a minute. Wait.
Didn't his parents own a jacuzzi shop in Arizona?
Yeah, wait a minute. Because there was this
I'm
whole
sure they
shit.
need hotter water.
Wait, hold a minute.
Arizona.
Wait, I'm like starting to realize something here. Because like there's was his girlfriend or his fiance like was posting TikToks of like him during the bye week or during the off season. He was on a farm. Like and all that shit. Like, wasn't that some whole thing? Like,
was he cosplaying?
He's from Gilbert, Arizona. Am I crazy? Am I not understanding
was he on a
farmland or something?
Was he on a dirt farm? What was he farming in Arizona? I don't know what you
wait.
I know that I'm letting the listener know right now. I'm gonna avoid a hacky cactus joke. I just will.
Oh wait. Oh no, go ahead and make your joke.
No. I just because that's the first thing anyone would say is
farming
cacti in Arizona.
I think his girlfriend owns a farm, and he was helping out on the farm during the bye week. That still doesn't really. I kind of hate that was like sold to us that like, oh, it's just in his DNA. He's just a farmer. He's just a farmer guy that needs to be out there farm. I think that was propaganda by Toyota.
Why is my NFL quarterback on a farm with all that big equipment during a bye week in the season? Hey, pal, get your feet up.
Yeah. Also, why would his girlfriend condone that? He should have been on a beach somewhere. He should have been just in a jacuzzi,
cryo chamber, anything. Get your body right. Get your mental right. You're out there.
Maybe I'm out on it. They're paying him too much money.
You're out there.
I don't like something's fishy here.
Baking in the sun. He is a.
What are we doing?
He's a Midwestern plant. That's what he is. They're trying to get all the yokels.
No, that was some Toyota convinced they were in a marketing meeting in the off season, and his girlfriend was like, "Oh yeah, my family owns a farm," and Toyota was like, "Wait a minute. What if we plant?" Because you and I almost went along with this. He went to school in Iowa. What if we plant that he's a farmer? Meanwhile, he is more Silicon Valley than he could possibly be. He's from freaking near Gilbert, Arizona, which is not farmland. It's dry as shit there. Unless I don't know anything about Arizona. I've been to Gilbert before. There's not a lot of farms over there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's basically somebody who goes to school in Arizona and then goes getting hired in private equity in freaking San Fran.